You're tuned in to the Andrew Lawton Show.
Are they trying to control the climate, or are they trying to control you? That's one of the questions put forth by Climate Hustle 2, a movie coming out on Thursday looking at the rise of the climate monarchy. The host of the film is Hercules himself, actor, director, and certainly Hollywood renegade Kevin Sorbo, who joins me on the line now. Kevin, good to talk to you. Thanks very much for coming on today.
Hollywood renegade, but not by choice. Yeah, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
So this must be for you, like if there was ever a chance of you getting back in the good graces of a lot of your former colleagues in Hollywood, that's gone with this movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, these guys called me up. I ended up being on camera with it, and I narrate it, but I was brought on after all of it was put together. And I certainly knew about Climate Hustle 1. So they approached me. I said, yeah, you just want to endear me more to Hollywood, don't you? So, but you know, I'm a guy that I always look at both sides of the story. And I don't understand why we're so one-sided with the whole thing with the climate change, global warming thing. I learned a lot by watching this thing, you know, because I watched it before I narrated it. And, you know, it didn't shock me. I've heard enough arguments from the other side as well. But, you know, the mainstream media in America, you know, they plug just the one thing all the time, and there's no room. They scream for tolerance, but they have none. It's a one-way street, you know.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the great things from a narrative perspective, and if you're going to explore this subject in a film about the global warming divide, is that it isn't just a scientific discussion anymore. I'd say arguably we'd all be better off if it were, but now it's become something about financial corruption, about media bias, about Hollywood hypocrisy, about all of these other things. And I understand that all of those are to some extent explored in Climate Hustle too.
They are. They did a great job with it. You know, you get a lot of guys that are very knowledgeable, a lot more smarter than I am, and scientists. Here's the thing. I've known this ever since I've been talking about it. I mean, global warming, I've heard about this even in the 90s. They were saying by the year 2000, the coastlines of, you know, Florida and California would be gone. Well, here we are 20 years later. It's, you know, it ain't going to happen. But I look at this and I said, why don't we just take a look at the other side just for one time, guys? I mean, talk about the ice caps. The ice caps are doing great. The polar bears are doing fine. But it comes down to an issue now where it's like the abortion issue. It doesn't really necessarily have to do with anything other than anger and hate now. And it's just so divisive. And I know you guys have seen America in our cities down here right now with these Antifa thugs running around destroying public property, private property, hurting people, killing people. I mean, it's just gotten absolutely crazy down here.
Yeah, it has. And you know, this issue is one that, and I'm glad you mentioned earlier on about having a debate and hearing both sides, because this issue is one where people don't even want to engage in a dialogue about it. I know there have been a number of issues where films that have tackled the subject to some extent before can't even find a theater that will let them play, even with a private booking, because people are so terrified of having a debate. So how do you break through that? And how do you say, hey, listen, we're all about free speech here. We want to have the discussion, and then at the end of it, make up your mind about what you think.
Well, I think you just said it. I mean, why can't what you worded it was perfectly, because that's what we need to do. But unless you do a movie that deals with the end of the world and how bad conservatives are and how bad anybody who has an opposing view to climate change is, how do you get past that? I have no idea, because Climate Hustle, the first one, has already been taken off Amazon now. It stayed there for a long time, but now that's even been taken away. I'm totally shadow banned on Facebook and Twitter. I'm not getting near the following I had before. I mean, it shows how many people I have, but it's not out there anymore and they've told me, they've banned me a number of times when I post things like, hey, what do you think about this article I found? And then it's just an article saying, well, here's some interesting stories to look at and interesting facts, so-called, from the other side. And I get blocked. I mean, it's weird what's going on right now, but it's pretty blatant, and the hypocrisy, as I'm trying to say, hypocrisy is pretty blatant.
Oh, yeah, we've seen this time and time again. Leo DiCaprio takes his private jet to a place to get off to give a speech about how we all need to do with less. Joaquin Phoenix a few months ago took a first-class plane ticket to D.C., gets off and says, we should all give up meat because of the climate. And I have to wonder, do these people just not care about their hypocrisy, or do they genuinely not realize it?
I think they realize it, but I also think they realize if they want to keep working in Hollywood, they better abide by the quid pro quo out there right now. You better say this, or you're going to hurt your career. I certainly hurt my career. 10 years ago, I got tired of the hypocrisy, and I started, being more vocal about it. My wife warned me, and she was right. I mean, my agent of many years that made a lot of money off Hercules and Andromeda off of me and other things said, goodbye, can't book you anymore. So if it wasn't for independent movies, I would never career anymore. But I just got tired of it. It's just like, this is absolutely ridiculous that these people get away with what they get away with. But it's just strange. There's so, like I said, there's so much hate. There's so much anger out there right now. How do you lighten that load? How do you make that stuff go away? I have no idea, but I'm not going to stop. They're not going to silence me. I don't think I'm being ridiculous. I think I post a lot of facts out there, but the facts and the truth are something that is kryptonite to these people.
When you mention that they all think this is their meal ticket to stay in Hollywood, are you saying that a lot of them you don't think are actually true believers or even concerned with the issue? They just realize this is where I have to be to continue to work in this industry now?
Yeah, I know some. I'm not going to name names because it's not my place to do it. But yeah, it's definitely that way. There's a lot of people out there in Hollywood that will vote for Trump, but they'll never say it. They'll vote not even for Trump. They'll vote for a Republican over what's going on in the Democrats right now. You look at all the major cities in America right now with all these riots are going on, the BLM movement, all that. It's all Democrat-run cities. And it blows my mind that people keep voting these people back in when they're destroying people's lives and their businesses right now. But my brain just went fog for a second. I got to get climatehustle2.com. That's where people can get information. climatehustle2.com. And I better say it or they'll get mad at me for not letting people know.
Don't worry, we'll have a bar up on the screen as well. So we won't blame you if I end up taking us off track there. But let me actually ask you what drew you to the movie, because I know you did mention that you like to hear all sides. But is this an issue that you've been interested in for a while, or was it one that really has come about more recently?
No, I've been interested forever. I mean, because it's always out there. I'm a guy that watches the news. Look, I'll watch the BBC, I'll watch CNN, I'll watch Fox, and it's interesting on the same, whatever they're talking about, if it's the same subject, how different they view the subject. So it's worse than, the three sides of a story, yours, mine, and the cold, hard truth. I think there's multiple things. It's like multiple news, like we have to have multiple genders now. So it's not near and dear to my heart, but I kind of laugh at what's going on. I remember when that Valdez, that big spill we had up in.
The Exxon, yeah.
Yeah, the Exxon thing. And, one of the actors got on Johnny Carson's show, goes, this is going to take 100 years before it gets back to normal. Well, it got back to normal a lot quicker than it's ever been. I mean, Mother Nature is much more strong than the rest of the world. And I'm not against green. You want electric cars? Yeah, why not? I'm not opposed to that because it's created a lot of jobs too, but it's created a lot of corruption on the other side. So I just get tired of people using this as a weapon to take away tax dollars that could be going to something that's far more important than worrying about 1 degree in the temperature over the last 100 years.
Yeah, and that's where it gets back to the tagline of the movie, which is the control aspect, because there are a lot of things, and we see this especially in Canada, of course, where the oil sector is huge, where the free market is doing a lot of the things to greenify on their own. And then you get, on the other hand, people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other politicians and some of your former colleagues in Hollywood that are saying, you know what, we need to control this, control that. The world's going to end in 12 years, 8 years, and I think eventually it's probably going to be before this interview ends that the world is going to end by one prediction or another. And it is very much about control.
Oh, they keep pushing it. Everything, if it's not in 2000, it's another 10 years or 20 years from now. Control is what's going on even right now with COVID, right? Fear is an amazing weapon, and they're using fear. And people get, FDR, one of our presidents way back in the day during Depression, what do you say? The only thing to fear is fear itself. Well, a lot of people are fearing it right now. I'm not a firm believer in the whole mask thing. I think that we have a virus that's out there. I've got doctor friends. I'm not going to name who they are, where they're from, but the big hospitals. And they're saying the masks don't stop this virus. They don't stop it at all. It's 75% smaller than the flu virus. It goes right through any mask. But we're making people do this, and people get angry if you don't have a mask on. And people are wearing masks because they're told they have to wear them. They're getting angry. So this kind of just builds on it, and the same thing has happened in the climate argument. It just builds on it and builds on it. It becomes more than what the real issue is. I mean, Al Gore is a billionaire now, okay? He became a very wealthy guy off this. So, if I was a smart guy, I would have followed his road and invested in the companies that he got off the ground.
Yeah, well, maybe, Climate Hustle 2 can be the anti-inconvenient truth as well, and do something as significant as what that film did on the other side. Because, my big frustration, and in retrospect, I think I can be very grateful that at least an Inconvenient Truth was very open about its agenda. The problem now is that this narrative gets slipped into pretty much anything. I was watching, I can't remember what movie it was. It was some animated movie like Ice Age or Happy Feet, and at the end they pivoted to like this, global UN commitment to, saving the environment or something like that, when you think you've just had a nice little movie. And that, I think, is probably the worst part of this, is that there's really no safe haven from being subjected to this narrative.
Well, they're putting it in every movie. It's always there. Somewhere it always slips in. If it's not a direct movie about the end of the world, there's always issues that they talk about. I mean, they do it, the BBC does it with the Richard Attenborough thing, about the blue ocean and all these different things. They always throw it in, and it gets all dramatic, But
yeah, you can't just enjoy the cute turtle and the nice little fish anymore.
Everything's got to be political now. It's like the Emmys and the Golden Globes and the Oscars. Every actor gets up there now and gets political. I still think Joe Pesci did the best job when he won supporting actor for Raging Bull. He went up and said, "Thank you," and he walked off stage. I love it. Just be grateful you have a job. It's a very competitive business. You're entrepreneurs, and you are capitalists. You can scream socialism all you want in Hollywood, but a lot of those A-list actors, they're rich enough to be socialists. They don't live socialist lifestyles. But Universal, Disney, they're all capitalist business. They want to make money. But it's this whole disguise thing. Look up. We care so much more than the rest of you. Look at how much we care about Mother Earth. We all care about the Earth. Give me a break. I mean, America does the two worst countries in the world that I've read about that with all the stuff they're spewing in the atmosphere is China and India. America is one of the lowest ones on there, and we throw the most money at this thing, and when we have too many more problems with other things that need to be brought attention to.
Oh yeah, and that's even more exaggerated in Canada, which is just a teeny tiny speck in the world compared to a lot of other nations. Yet our politicians say that we need to get taxed up the yin yang to do all of these other things, and the math doesn't add up there. Just let me ask you in closing here, Kevin, because you talked about the Hollywood narrative there. We had a couple of weeks ago the Oscars come out and say all of a sudden for Best Picture, a film to be nominated has to check off all these diversity and inclusion boxes. Do you think this is the death of art, or has that happened long ago by this point?
Well, it's gotten worse and worse as it goes along. Look, I don't care who's in what movie. I don't care what race you are in. If it's a good movie, it should be recognized. But to sit there now and say, well, you have to have this and to fill a diversity quota, then my argument for that is, okay, then in the NBA and the NFL, we need more diversity. I want to see more people from Guam, from Israel, from I don't know, maybe Japan, more people like that in the NFL. And the people would get on my case, no, you want the best people. Well, thank you very much. I want the best movie voted on by people saying because it's the best movie. If it happens to be, for whatever reasons, they're trying to change the Academy Awards to now, so be it. But don't force this way for people to vote on this just because of that. So, they just keep, it's just Insanityville right now.
Yeah, very much agree. I don't know if Climate Hustle 2 will be able to meet all the diversity criteria to get nominated for Best Picture, but certainly deserving of it because it's speaking truth on an issue that it is so difficult to find anyone willing to do it. So thanks very much for your bravery in taking part in this and also for coming on today. I greatly appreciate it.
It's funny. I don't know if you know Babylon Bee. These guys do very funny little satire bits on the news, and it's fake news, but they make fun of the real news. And because of what they're doing in the Academy Awards, they put one out on me because I do so many faith-based movies like God's Not Dead and What If and Light There Be Light. So they said every faith-based movie now must be up for Academy Awards, and it has to star Kevin Sorbo in it. So I thought it was pretty funny that they did that.
Yeah, that would actually not be a bad idea. So I'm glad. I'll have to take a look at that. Thanks very much for coming on. Kevin Sorbo, really great to talk to you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to The Andrew Lawton Show. Support the program by donating to True North at www.tnc.news.